Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live lesson. Today, we're going to be going through a progression test and looking at how you should actually answer all your questions. Okay, if you've got any questions in the meanwhile to ask, put them onto the web chat and then I'll be able to see them and answer as we go along. Okay, let's look at the test. Right, as you know, those people who've done progression tests in the past, some of you haven't, some of you are old hands at it. It's got the details of the test. It tells you which paper you're looking at. Paper 1, which has mainly got a lot of grammar questions in it, and the timing, 1 hour and 10 minutes. Okay. So look at the instructions, as you should always do. Answer all the questions, don't leave any out. Make a guess if you've no idea. You've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right. And look here, pay attention to punctuation, spelling, and handwriting. So if the examiner can't read it, there goes your mark. If your spelling's wrong, whoa, there goes your mark. Punctuation, you must use it. If it's not there, there goes a mark. We don't want you to lose any marks at all, okay? And the total number of marks for this paper is 50, okay? So it's out of 50, and 30 of those points are for writing. So 20 points are things that you can't do without in case your writing goes terribly wrong, okay? Right, the one we're looking at today is about dolphins. I want to see if you can try and remember this. I'm going to read it to you, which may be helpful for those that can't see the writing very well. Okay, and then we're going to look at the questions, because this is exactly what you'll get in your test on your exam. So, dolphins. Kelly is a pretty amazing dolphin. She lives at a research center in the USA, where the dolphins have been trained to help keep the tanks clean. These dolphins have learned that if they pass a piece of litter to a trainer, they will be rewarded with a fish. Kelly is also a cunning dolphin, and she has worked out that she can cheat the system. Every time Kelly finds a scrap of paper, she hides it under a rock at the bottom of her tank. Then, when she spots a trainer approaching, Kelly dives down and tears off a small piece to give to the trainer. When the next trainer turns up, Kelly tears off another bit. She seems to be thinking, why get one fish for her piece of paper when she can get lots? Okay. Kelly's practical thinking doesn't stop there. One day a gull flew into her tank. She dutifully gave the bird to a trainer and was rewarded with several fish. This seemed to give her another great idea. When feeding time came around again, she took the last fish down to her secret hiding place under the rock. When the trainers weren't around, it seems she used the fish as bait to attract more gulls, so that she could present them to the trainers for a reward. In fact, this technique worked so well that she taught her calf how to do it. Others also learned this trick, and now the group are a regular bunch of gull baiters. They have learned to lure them with the fish they have hidden and to swap their feathery bounty for yet more fishy treats. This tale is a brilliant example of how clever dolphins can be, and when they happen upon a great idea or just a new game, they can pass on this knowledge to their friends. Kelly's story perfectly supports the argument that dolphins do not deserve to be held in concrete tanks to amuse humans. Okay, story all about dolphins. Think about it. What's your first impressions? You're going to have to read this whole passage twice. and maybe look at some of the questions, go through the questions, and then even read the passage a third time for total understanding. Of course, we don't have time to do that here. So let's just look at a few things. Is there any words perhaps that you're not sure of? Is there a synonym for a cunning dolphin? What does cunning actually mean? Cunning, smart, sly? Tricky. Look at this one. It's in bold print. She spots a trainer approaching. There must be a reason that's there. If you've read the questions, you'll know why. Think of synonyms for when she spots a trainer. Okay, is there anything else? Any words there that we don't understand? I think they're all quite reasonable. A gull baiter. If you look at the word bait, it's usually what fishermen stick on the end of their fishing hooks, isn't it? So that's bait. But these dolphins have become gull baiters. So they're looking for gulls to come to their tank so they can catch them and give them to the trainers. They've learned to lure them. There's another word in bold print. What does lure mean? Can you think of some synonyms for that? Right, good. Somebody's already answered. For the first one, spots, and that's correct. And finally, this tail is in bold. What's a tail? You must know that. Read many, many, many of them. And the story perfectly supports the argument. Good, that's right. Also got that. Somebody's on a roll here. Well done. Right, now we're going to take a look at the questions here. Okay. Now, let's see if I can, we don't need to look at a blank one because you don't really have time to read the whole passage again. So let's look at the typical, the first questions are usually on the passage before they go on to grammar questions. So number one, you need to know what's in that passage and you need to understand it. So the first one is, what task do the dolphins do to help at the research center? And there's your answer. They help keep the tanks clean. Okay, and that would have gotten you 1 point. Okay. Second question, why does Kelly hide scraps of paper at the bottom of the tank? Why? So she can tear little bits off and give them to a trainer to earn extra rewards. If you don't have all those things, tearing bits off, giving them to a trainer, earning extra fish, etc., you won't get your mark. There's no half marks in Cambridge. It's either right or it's wrong. So read the question a few times to make sure you know what you're answering. Make as full an answer as possible and you will get your mark. What did Kelly teach her calf? Okay, she taught her calf how to bait gulls for extra fish or rewards in this case. Okay, again, read the question. What's a full answer to make sure you get your full mark? Otherwise, you get no marks. Okay, so basically it's a kind of roundup. Those questions are a bit of a summary of what's been going on in the passage. So these will show that you've understood the passage, and that's what it's all about, reading and understanding. Okay, let's just see if I can share this part with you now. Let's find it. Right. All these questions are very standard. Questions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're going to be in every progression test and every exam. And the exams and progression tests are very, very similar. Okay, question 2 is always on vocabulary. Okay, give the meaning of each of the following words as it is used in the passage. So you must be careful of that. If they're looking for a verb, your answer must be a verb. They're looking for a noun, your answer must be a noun. In each case, give one word or short phrase. You cannot write 3 answers or the whole sentence even and expect the examiner to choose the word for you. You'll get 0 if you do that. So don't do that, okay? The first one, which was already answered by somebody, was Kelly spots a trainer approaching. So the answer to that would simply be sees, or she notices. Okay, notice we've got an S at the end, meaning it's the present tense of the verb. You must answer the same way. If you put see, you'll be wrong. You must get the correct part of the verb. She sees or she notices. 1 mark for that if you get it right. Lure. Remember we had the word lure. They have learned to lure them with fish. They have hidden. Remember we're talking about the gulls. So lure here is a verb. So we could say tempt, or attract, or notice. Never give more than 1 answer, or they'll probably just ignore it and give you 0. So to get your 1 mark, correct form of the verb, and you will get your mark. The other one, the tail, is a brilliant example. Another word, a synonym for tail, is story. Easy peasy. You'll get your mark. And the last one was from the sentence, Kelly's story perfectly supports the argument. So we can make a word or a phrase. For the word, we could say reinforces the argument, or we could even say helps the argument, aids the argument, assists the argument, or gives evidence for. That's a phrase, isn't it? So if you got all of these correct, that would be a whole 4 marks. You don't want to throw away 4 whole marks when there's only 20 for the whole of the comprehension. Okay, so continue reading books, continue looking at subtitles on movies and series. Okay, always do that. It'll help you. Number 3, add the missing punctuation. They always have missing punctuation. So if you're not sure about punctuation, revise it. Look at the whole sentence. Do you think dolphins are clever enough to know what we're thinking? Asked the spectator. The researcher smiled. I don't know, she said. They are certainly intelligent, friendly, and playful. So look at the answer. You would be writing, whoopsie, that's not it. This is it. Open inverted commas, because this is a question, capital letter. Some people forget the capital letter. Do you think dolphins are clever enough to know what we are thinking? It's a question, put a question mark, close inverted commas. Okay, that's all you need to know. All punctuation inside that inverted comma. Ask the spectator, full stop. The researcher smiled, comma, open inverted commas. I don't know, don't forget your apostrophe there, comma, she said, close inverted commas. Punctuation is inside those inverted commas. Full stop, so we're going to have a capital letter. Open inverted commas. They are certainly intelligent, comma, friendly, and playful. Full stop and inverted commas outside the full stop. Try to get everything right. If you get 90% of it correct, you'll get your full 2 marks. Otherwise, 1 or 0 if it's pretty bad. So if you don't know punctuation, make sure you get around to revising it, looking it up. If you have any questions, send them to me on the web chat, okay? Don't be shy, just do it. Otherwise, you'll never learn the answer and you'll be wrong for the next 20 years. Always comes up in some form or other. Rewrite a sentence, adding a relative clause with further information from the passage. Right, we've looked at these in Q&As, relative clauses, etc. What are they? Okay, a relative clause contains a subject and a verb and begins with a relative pronoun. What is a relative pronoun? Who, whom, whose, that, or which. Or you can even use a relative adverb. When, where, or why, depending on the context of the sentence. Because once you write those words, they're going to be followed by a relative clause. Okay, look at this one. Kelly is a clever dolphin, for example, who uses, you obviously don't write for example, this is for you to see. Kelly is a clever dolphin who uses fish to catch seagulls. Okay, that's one reason as to why we think Kelly is clever. Maybe you've got another one. So as long as you've used your relative pronoun and make a relative clause, you are going to get that mark. Okay, as long as the answer and the sentence make sense within the context of the passage. Okay, so always going to have a question like that. That's why in our Q&A sessions we do little bits and bobs of grammar, and they're usually coming from the progression test and the exam. Okay, here's another favorite one that they love asking. Combine these three sentences into one complex sentence. Do not use and or but. Why? Because if you use and or but, you're going to have a compound sentence, because that's conjunctions that join them. We've looked at, also in our Q&As, we've looked at conjunctions, joining words, every connectors of every type, signposting, and you should know which ones that you can use. Some people have asked for the information, they've been sent it, so hopefully they remember those words that they've got, and they're already at their fingertips. Look at the three sentences. Dolphins live naturally in both rivers and oceans. They are very intelligent and playful. Many dolphins are trained in captivity. Now, some people just say, oh, I'm going to put a comma and put the next sentence and put the next sentence. But that does not make one sentence that looks like a sentence. No, that just doesn't make any sense at all. So you have to use your correct signposting or connecting words. Here is an example of one. Although dolphins live naturally in both rivers and oceans, comma, you must use punctuation, many are trained in captivity because they are very intelligent and playful. Okay. So we've used although and because and made the sentence make sense, used the correct spelling and the correct punctuation. So think about that before you just dive in and try and join everything with a comma. Okay. And another favorite. Complete the sentence using two different forms of the same verb. If you don't read that instruction properly, you are going to get it wrong. Because some people just say, oh, I can write any verb I like, instead of thinking I must use the same verb. Always read your question twice to make sure you've got the right idea. Okay, in this case, we're using the verb catch. Past tense is caught. The trainer threw the first fish, which the dolphin caught in its mouth, but it did not catch the second one. So we've got the past simple tense there, and we've got the present tense there. Okay, to get 1 mark, they both must be correct. All these questions 2 to 6 are all on grammar. If you're not sure of any grammar that we've looked at, if you're not sure about it, then ask me. Right, here's a question. Is there any specific order to do it in, or can we do it in any? No, it doesn't matter how you answer. It's up to you. As long as you get questions 2 to 6 answered, you can write number 6 first if you want, and number 2 first. Okay? And because this is grammar, there's nothing that will probably help you with question 1, which is generally on the question. For question 5, Oh, yes, you can put that one complex sentence can be in any order. Okay? That you might use this sentence first or that one, but it's what makes sense. Okay, we couldn't start with they are very intelligent and playful. Who is they? Unless you've explained who they are, it's not going to make sense. Okay, so you'll either use this one or this one first, question number 3 or number 1, so we know who they are. All right, as long as that sentence makes sense, you are going to be fine. So it's really a matter of looking at the sentence and seeing what makes sense. You can change it around. Don't be shy to do that. You must make it make sense or it's going to be wrong anyway. So use your brain power for that. So these sentences come up in, these questions come up in every single grammar part in paper 1. Give the meaning of words, vocabulary. Number 3, punctuation, and there's bound to be dialogue in it. So if you don't know how to do dialogue, revise it. Adding relative clauses of some kind, okay? All you need to know is a relative clause begins with a relative pronoun, and that sentence again must make sense. If it doesn't make sense, no mark. Combining the sentence into a complex sentence, okay, which is really just means using clauses. It's going to be fine. And then the last one, use 2 different forms of the same verb, not a different one. Now, the next question in this section is going to be about a summary. Sometimes most of the time it's a summary they ask you to do. We haven't time to read through this at the moment. But if you look at the question that they ask, the first question they ask, make a list of all the dangers to ocean and river dolphins and the results of these dangers. So you're going to make a list that shows one danger and one result of that danger, okay? But you're going to have a lot. Let's look at what we've got here, even though you haven't read the passage. Just bear with us. Getting caught in fishing nets causes dolphins to drown. So there's a reason. That's the danger, sorry, getting caught in a fishing net. And what's the result? It causes dolphins to drown. Unsustainable commercial fishing reduces dolphins' prey. So there is the danger and there is the effect it has. Noise from naval operations and seismic surveys affects echolocation, which causes them to become stranded on the shore. So there are the dangers and there are the results of those dangers. Being struck by ships and other vessels, that's a danger, causes both serious and fatal injuries. There's your risk result. Human activities like chemical pollution in rivers, lakes, and estuaries can be fatal. So there's the risk, chemical pollution, and there's the danger, the dolphins will die. And finally, the last risk, because they asked for all the dangers, risk from man-made structures like dams and barrages restrict their movement and affects their access to prey and suitable habitat. Okay, so we've listed all the dangers and the results of these dangers. Now they're going to ask you to summarize that passage. You are not going to read that passage again. You are going to use your own notes that you've made and you're going to make a summary. Okay, that's how you will summarize, because if you use the writer's words, then you're just going to be guilty of plagiarism. Okay, you can't use someone else's words. You've got to try to use your own words and put them into a certain order that makes sense. Obviously, you're going to have to use some words like dolphins, etc. And here is a summary. using your list. That's why they tell you to write the list. So you read that passage till you get it into your head and make your list like we did above there. And you have to write a summary using your own words. Explain some of the dangers. You don't need to write about them all because it might make it have too many words, and the results of those dangers. So choose ones you can write about and use your own words. Oh, thanks for letting me know. We've only 1 minute left. So we're going to read this. We've summarized the whole thing in the first sentence, just like a topic sentence would read. Human activities pose the most dangerous threat to dolphins. Okay, we've made our sweeping statement. Now we're going to back it up with evidence. And that evidence comes from our list of the dangers and the results of those dangers. Ships may strike many dolphins accidentally, and this causes serious or even fatal injuries. Not only can they get caught up in fishing nets and drown, but overfishing also leaves dolphins with no food to catch. You see where we're using paraphrasing and trying to use synonyms so we're not exactly the same as the writer. The dolphin's echolocation, no other way to say that, is disturbed by certain naval operations. There's navies all over the world, don't forget. Further, it is also messed up by earthquake events. This causes them to be marooned on beaches as their sense of direction is muddled. Okay, that's us talked about the sea-going dolphins. Now we go on to a little bit about freshwater dolphins. Freshwater dolphins suffer mainly from human pollution, which destroys their habitat. Even dams or barrages can impede their ability to travel through the water to chase after their food supply. So in this summary here, the only thing we've looked at is our list. And we've looked at the list and tried to use synonyms so that we're saying the same thing, but in a slightly different way. So if you guys can do that, you'll do well and get all the points for your summary and list, which adds up to 8 marks. So you don't want to lose that, do you? Right, so hopefully you've learned quite a bit about how to answer your progression tests and your test for paper 1, which is mainly grammar, and that would have been all out of 20 marks. The next section would be writing, which would be out of 30 marks. And as long as you've understood the task properly, that should be quite easy for you. Anyway, so thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully I'll see you next time.